Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. We are 40 hours away from a transfer of power. But unlike nearly all that came before, it cannot be characterized as a peaceful transfer of power. There has already been violence against the transfer of power incited by the outgoing president that left 5 people dead, including a police officer. This is what it looks like in a nation that has had a violent threat to the transfer of power. 25,000 troops stationed in the Capitol, as if they were garrisoned in a war zone, a militarized green zone established around the center of the city. Much of Washington, D.C. just utterly shut down. There are lots of ways to describe this moment, but no one gets to say they didn't see it coming, that they were not warned. If there is one thing that Donald Trump has made clear from the beginning, going back to 2016, it is that he had never had any intention of conceding defeat if he lost and engaging in a smooth and peaceful transfer of power.
Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
I understand that, but people are rioting. Do you commit to making sure that there's a peaceful transferal of power?
We want to get rid of the ballots, and we'll have a very peaceful. There won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation.
I mean, that was on camera. We all saw that, right? Will you commit to a peaceful transfer of power? Well, we'll have to see. There will not be a continuation, as Donald Trump said. But we are getting more reporting about how there was a plan all along to steal the election, to overturn the results, defy the will of the people, destroy American democracy. That plan was plotted and executed in broad daylight, in public, on Twitter, with all of us watching, and all of the Republicans watching, and in front of numerous aides. Axios reports that as Trump prepared for Election Day, he was focused on the so-called red mirage, right? That was the idea that his voters' votes would be counted first. Trump intended to exploit this, to weaponize it for his vast base of followers. His preparations were deliberate, strategic, and deeply cynical. Trump wanted Americans to believe a falsehood, that there were 2 elections, a legitimate election composed of in-person voting and a separate fraudulent election involving bogus mail-in ballots for Democrats. The outgoing president even choreographed his election night scheme as early as the second week of October. His former chief of staff, Reince Priebus, told a friend he was stunned when Trump called him around that time and acted out his script, including walking up to a podium and prematurely declaring victory on election night if it looked like he was ahead. Oh, Reince Priebus was stunned. Well, what did he do about it? What did Reince Priebus do about it when the president confided him his plan to steal an election? Did he warn us? Did he say anything publicly? No, of course not. He did what they all did. He just shut his mouth and let it happen, even as it was all planned and plotted. It happened with a whole bunch of people like Reince Priebus, thank you, Reince, looking on. Some of them just jumped off the runaway train at the very last minute. Another profile in courage, Attorney General William Barr, whose Axios reports had been butting heads with Trump since the summer. Now, Barr, again, could have taken a firmer stand. He could have been public. He could have told us what was happening. He could have rung the alarm bell sooner. He could have warned us. He didn't do that. He sat by and let it happen. And instead, he quit a few weeks early with a letter comically, effusively praising Trump on his way out. Or Vice President Mike Pence, who decided at the last moment not to aid the coup. Good on him. Only to end up sheltering from a raving mob chanting "Hang Mike Pence" as they stalked the halls of the Capitol looking for him and his family. By the time people like Barr or Pence were interested in distancing themselves from the plot, it had already gained its own momentum. See it now in new polling from NBC News showing 74% of Republicans believe Joe Biden did not win the presidency legitimately. Everyone went along with Trump's plan until it was too late. So now, this is the country the Biden administration and a Democratic Senate and House are tasked with governing. A country that requires 25,000 armed troops to keep the peace on Inauguration Day. A country where a huge chunk of the opposition, a supermajority, wrongly believes they were the victims of a coup.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.